The Brahmaputra, shaping the history of Assam. Introduction: a river that defined a civilization. The Brahmaputra River stands among the most powerful geographic forces shaping the political, economic, and cultural evolution of South Asia. Flowing nearly 1,800 miles from the Tibetan plateau through the eastern Himalayas across the plains of Assam before merging with the Ganges in Bangladesh, the river has functioned not merely as a natural watercourse but as a historical architect of societies, economics, and political systems. Its immense scale, seasonal flooding, fertile floodplains, and strategic geography transformed it into a central axis around which history of Assam developed for centuries. The river provided the foundations for agriculture, defense, migration, trade, and communication, influencing the structure of political power and economic organization in the region. The history of Assam cannot be understood without examining the Brahmaputra as both a lifeline and a barrier that shaped the destiny of kingdoms, empires, and colonial powers. The river originates in Tibet, where it is known as Chisangpo. I'm not sure where I'm pronouncing it right. Before entering India through Arunachal Pradesh, where it became the Siang. As it flows through Assam, it takes the name Brahmaputra and eventually becomes the Jamuna in Bangladesh, before meeting the Ganges and emptying into Bay of Bengal. Together with the Ganges, it forms the largest river delta in the world. The Ganges-Brahmaputra Delta, a vast sedimentary landscape that supports millions of people and some of its most fertile agricultural land on earth. And some of it has most fertile agricultural land on earth. Geography and environment of the Brahmaputra Valley. Formation of the Brahmaputra Valley. The Brahmaputra Valley forms the central geographic feature of Assam. The river divides the region into two major parts, Upper Assam and Lower Assam. Upper Assam extends from the eastern regions near Sadia towards Kaliabor, while Lower Assam stretches westward from Nagaon to Dhubri, near Bangladesh border. The division is not merely administrative or geographic but historically significant because it shaped settlement patterns, agricultural productivity, and political organization. Surrounded by hills and mountain ranges on nearly all sides, Assam historically remained relatively isolated from the rest of the Indian subcontinent. The eastern Himalayas, the Patkai Hills, and the other mountain systems limited large-scale overland movement for centuries. As a result, the Brahmaputra River functioned as a primary corridor connecting Assam to other regions of South Asia. It allowed migration, trade, communication to occur through waterways even when land routes were poorly developed. This dual role of the river as both a connector and a barrier played a crucial role in shaping the political trajectory of Assam. While the river enabled exchange and communication, its vast width, strong currents, and seasonal floods also created formidable obstacles for invading armies unfamiliar with the terrain. Assam, a historical migration corridor. The region as a gateway of human movement. Despite its apparent isolation, Assam historically functioned as a migration corridor linking South Asia with Southeast Asia and East Asia. Numerous mountain passes connecting Assam with Tibet, Burma, and China, allowing movements of traders, soldiers, and settlers over long periods of time. So, scholars have described Assam as one of the greatest migration routes of mankind, highlighting its importance in the broader history of human settlement in Asia. Ancient Indian texts such as the Mahabharata, the Puranas, and various tantric literature contain references to the region historically known as Pragjyotishpura or Kamrupa. These texts suggest that Assam was known to the broader Indian cultural sphere long before the emergence of organized kingdom within the Brahmaputra Valley. However, detailed historical records remain limited before the 13th century when the arrival of the Ahoms marked a turning point in the political development of the region. The rise of the Ahom Kingdom, origins of the Ahoms. The Ahoms belong to the Tiashan ethnic group originating from regions around the upper Chindwin and Irrawaddy river basins in present-day Myanmar. Their kingdom was originally known as Pong. In 1228 CE, the Ahoms entered Assam by crossing the Patkai Hills under the leadership of Chaolong Sukapa, who later became the founding king of the Ahom dynasty. Upon entering the Brahmaputra valley, the Ahoms settled in the Namrup region and gradually expanded their influence by forming alliances with local tribes such as the Borahis and Morans. Through a combination of political integration, intermarriage, and military expansion, they gradually established control over the fertile lands of the Brahmaputra Valley. Their capital was established at Charadio, pardon, Chariadev, which became a symbolic and administrative center of the kingdom. Agricultural foundations of Ahom power. The Ahoms possessed advanced knowledge of wet rice cultivation and irrigation techniques, which proved particularly well suited to the fertile floodplains of the Brahmaputra Valley. The river's numerous tributaries and seasonal flooding deposited nutrient-rich sediments across the plains, creating highly productive agricultural lands. This agricultural abundance allowed the Ahom state to sustain large populations, maintaining military forces, and build a durable political structure that lasted for nearly 6 centuries. The Brahmaputra as a strategic defense system. Natural military barrier. One of the most remarkable aspects of Assam's history is the repeated failure of powerful North Indian empires to conquer the region. The Brahmaputra River played a decisive role in this outcome by functioning as a natural defensive barrier. Invading armies from North India were forced to navigate upstream along the river for long distances, often using boats in unfamiliar waters. Because of these logistical difficulties involved, they could bring only limited military forces into the region. This placed them at a disadvantage compared with Ahom defenders, who could mobilize large numbers of boats and soldiers moving downstream. In addition, the rocky hilltops along the riverbank served as natural fortification from which the Ahom forces could mount cannons and deploy troops. These defensive advantages transformed the Brahmaputra Valley into a formidable battlefield for foreign invaders. Early invasions of Assam, Bakhtiyar Khilji, and the early Islamic campaigns. One of the earliest recorded invasions occurred during 1205 CE when Ikhtiaruddin Muhammad Bakhtiyar Khilji, a Turkic general associated with the Delhi Sultanate, attempted to invade the Kamrupa region. According to historical inscriptions and chronicles, the invading army suffered catastrophic losses after local forces destroyed a breach and many soldiers drowned in the river. This early failure demonstrated how difficult it was for outside powers to operate within the riverine environment of Assam. Subsequent invasions were attempted by various rulers during Ghiyasuddin, Turgil Khan, Tugril Khan, and Muhammad Shah, but none succeeded in establishing lasting controls over the region. Now let's talk about the Ahom Mughal Wars, a century of conflict. The most dramatic military confrontation in the history of Assam occurred during the prolonged conflicts between the Ahom Kingdom and the Mughal Empire. Between the 17th century and the late 17th, between the 7th, no, 17th century and the late 17th centuries. This war began around 1615 and continued until 1682, involving numerous military campaigns, at least 18 major battles. One of the most notable episodes occurred in 1662 when Mir Jumla, the Mughal governor of Bengal under Emperor Aurangzeb, invaded Assam and temporarily captured the Ahom capital at Gargaon. However, the campaign ultimately failed when massive flooding of the Brahmaputra disrupted Mughal supply lines and allowed the Ahoms to launch counterattacks. Mir Jumla was forced to withdraw and sign a treaty with the Ahom ruler Jayadhwaja Singha. The Battle of Saraighat, perhaps the most famous battle, occurred in 1671 at Saraighat near present-day Guwahati. Led by the legendary Ahom commander Lachit Borphukan, the Ahom forces successfully defeated a large Mughal fleet commanded by Raja Ram Singh. The battle demonstrated the effectiveness of the river-based warfare in the Brahmaputra Valley and marked a decisive turning point in the conflict. The Mughal Empire never succeeded in fully incorporating Assam into its territory. Trade and commerce along the Brahmaputra. Early trade networks. Trade in Assam can be traced back to at least the 4th century. During the period of Kamarupa Kingdom, merchants used both lands and water routes to exchange goods with neighboring regions including Tibet, China, Burma, and Bengal. The Brahmaputra River served as a principal transportation corridor connecting these networks. Large boats sailed down the river towards the sea, enabling merchants to access maritime trading routes. Markets and economic organizations under the Ahoms. During the Ahom period, the state actively encouraged trade by establishing weekly markets known as hats or huts. These markets functioned as centers of local commerce where goods were exchanged through barter or through crowries rather than standardized coinage. Large merchants known as Bormudios handled external trade while smaller traders participated in local markets. The Ahom administration regulated trade through officials such as the Choladhora Fukan, who controlled the entry of merchants into the kingdom and ensured that the traders possessed proper authorization. Imports included salt, ghee, copper, pulses, and textiles from Bengal, while exports included cotton, ivory, mustard seeds, Dell metal utensils, and various varieties of silk such as eri and muga. British annexation and economic transformation. The Treaty of Yadabo, 1826. The political landscape of Assam changed dramatically in the early 19th century. Internal instability caused by the Maomaria rebellion and repeated Burmese invasion weakened the Ahom Kingdom. The situation culminated in the Treaty of Yandabo in 1826 following the First Anglo-Burmese War, through which Assam came under British control. Emergence of the tea economy. British colonial rule introduced major economic transformation in the Brahmaputra Valley. The discovery of tea in Assam by Robert Bruce in 1821 led to the development of large tea plantations across the regions. In 1835, the first tea garden was established at Lakhimpur. Over time, Assam became one of the world's leading tea producing regions. The growth of the tea industry required large number of laborers, leading to mass migration from other parts of India. By 1903, the immigrant population in Assam had reached more than half a million workers. Modern transportation and trade, steam navigation on the Brahmaputra. The British also introduced steam-powered vessels on Brahmaputra River, dramatically increasing the efficiency of river transport. Steamboats carried tea, coal, petroleum, and other commodities from Assam to Calcutta, where they were exported to global markets. Regular steamships routes connected Dibrugarh, Guwahati, Narayanganj, and Calcutta, transforming the Brahmaputra into a major commercial artery of colonial India. Railroads were later constructed to connect plantations and mines with large river ports, further integrating Assam into the global economy. Social and demographic transformations. Immigration and cultural change. The expansion of the plantation economy and industrial extraction attracted large number of migrants from various parts of India. These migrants formed new communities within Assam, altering the demographic composition of the region. The emergence of plantation laborers, locally known as Baganias or coolies, created new social classes and reshaped the cultural landscape of the Brahmaputra Valley. Conclusion. The river as the architect of Assam. The Brahmaputra River has shaped every dimension of Assam's historical development. Its fertile floodplains enabled agricultural prosperity and supported the rise of powerful kingdoms. Its vast waters served as natural defenses against invading empires. Its channels facilitated trade networks that connected the region with distant markets. At the same time, the river also played a role in preserving Assam's relative isolation for centuries, allowing distinct cultural and political traditions to merge. From the rise of the Ahom Kingdom to the arrival of the British colonial power and the development of the tea economy, the Brahmaputra remained the central axis of historical change in the region. It determined the location of settlements, the outcome of battles, the direction of trade routes, and the structure of the regional economy. In this sense, the history of Assam is inseparable from the history of Brahmaputra itself, a river that has functioned simultaneously as a protector, provider, pathway, and a force of transformation across centuries of human civilization.